Oh, okay. Good evening. It is December 17th, 2023. Sunday, December 17th, 2023. And I am doing I just wanted to touch on a few more things regarding the Masons and a few more points that I wanted to make regarding the things that have happened in South Dakota, a few more things, and also, just linking some things to the whole Epstein thing too. So I wanted to show some pictures here of in a couple of videos back. I had mentioned the Tani Rockwell murder that happened in Aberdeen, South Dakota, where this young Indian girl was murdered, and she was brought up in, she was forced to be in this youth, these youth, these homes that they have in Aberdeen for disabled, and she wasn't disabled, and so she was labeled disabled when she wasn't disabled, and so she was brought up in this social, like in the whole government program, abused basically in this program by social services, and then she ended up murdered, like I said, in Aberdeen. Okay, so this is a picture of her, and she died at age 25. Okay, this is a picture of her. So I wanted to show you a picture of her apartment complex in Aberdeen, where this happened. Okay, this is the picture of her apartment complex. Okay, and then the specific picture of her apartment on the corner, where the supposed fire was. Okay. Okay, so apparently this woman ends up, they illegally take her kids away. It doesn't sound like there was any legal basis to take her kids away. She was doing everything that she was supposed to do to get her kids back, and they took her kids away from her for no reason. And then she ends up dead. She was shot in the back of the head. So she had a gunshot wound to the back of her head, and then her apartment was caught on fire in a whole apartment complex of four other apartments. So they just targeted that one apartment. Okay. And they have this one guy that they arrested that was supposedly her boyfriend at the time, Rodriguez or something. So they have this one guy arrested. And for somebody to do a crime like this, this elaborate, where you kill somebody and, put their whole apartment complex, and you just target that one apartment, that has to be more than just one person. That has to be a whole organization involved in that. Okay? And there were people that saw the fire department removing the insulation from her apartment complex, or something like that, the day of the fire. Okay? So like the apartments around her wouldn't burn, just hers would burn. Okay, these were eyewitnesses. Okay, so that means that the police and the fire department were involved. Okay, and this is what I've been trying to say, is that they are pinning, it seems to me that they are pinning murders on innocent people when it is the police and the fire people that are involved in these crimes. This is an elaborate operation, and so we already know, as I had mentioned, we already know that there is people that have been involved in multiple murders and arsons out of McPherson County. Sheriff Dave Ackerman and Rodney Hoffman, and the people involved in that county. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Rodney Hoffman was involved in this murder and this arson, in Tawny Rockwell's murder as well. Okay, it's the same people, and then they just get the same, the whole same Mason organization, cops and fire departments, to do the cover-ups. Okay, I mean, this, you can't do a whole elaborate, just target one apartment and the whole rest of the complex doesn't burn, unless you know exactly what you're doing as an arsonist. As it's like you have to, that's a targeted fire, and why did they have to start the whole apartment on fire? They were covering up something. Okay, so I mean, this is what I'm trying to say, is that this is obviously something very serious going on here, and very evil. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too is that that I haven't mentioned about the murder of Jimmy Kolb in Long Lake is that when Jimmy was the guy who was my friend in Long Lake, who was our neighbor in Long Lake, which is a little bit north of Aberdeen, and he ended up murdered just for trying to say something about some drug running going on in that area. Okay, and that so he had I had been in his house before. He had just a small house in Long Lake, but he did have a safe in his room where he had his documents or his keys to his vehicles or whatever. It was just a small safe, locked safe, and so I had seen that in his house before, and other neighbors had seen that too, and so the next morning after the fire, or like when the whole fire was out and it was safe to go in and see what was going on, we went in there and took some pictures and everything, and that safe that was in Jimmy's bedroom was not in there. So that means to us also, that's more evidence that this was a premeditated murder against Jimmy, and that the safe was taken out by Sheriff Dave Ackerman and probably Rodney, and that that's more evidence that this was a premeditated thing, and so since they didn't have a will, because he had a will in that safe, so since they didn't have a will to go by, then what happened is all of his property went to state probate. So basically they committed a murder and got his property. Okay, so this is, there's other people that this has apparently happened to as well. Murders were, and then they got their property. The state got their property. Okay, so this is another really scary thing going on too. Okay, so and then I don't believe that this person, Rodriguez person, was the person that killed Tawny Rockwell, her boyfriend, and then they're trying to also charge the cattle missing. They're trying to charge some guy right now with that crime, and I don't believe that he is the person that did it. I believe they're trying to charge another innocent person for the crimes that the police and the mayor and the deputies and stuff involved have been doing. Okay, the Masons there. Okay, so then I wanted to mention. Okay, then I wanted to mention that a couple other things about how I had mentioned in my last video about Trump. The whole thing about where he just because he's been seen with Epstein, or he 25 years ago he went to a party with Epstein or whatever. I mean, that doesn't mean he was involved in all of this, any of this stuff. What that means is that they were targeting him, blackmailing him all those years ago because he was a threat. Okay, but you have to understand that he used this information that he found out about some of this stuff for the good, because what he found out is that Epstein, Robert Maxwell, from his dealings with these people, he did find out information about something called Promis software, Promis, which was developed by Robert Maxwell. Okay. Okay, right here. It says right here. I'll see if you can read it here. Okay. It says, okay. Department of Justice, a software program known as Promis software. Okay. It's a spying and espionage software. Okay. And it was developed by the media mogul Robert Maxwell, who was the father of Jeffrey Epstein, partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay. And also, okay, it's Promis software was Bill Hamilton versus Department of Justice claims Promis software's modification. It was a spyware, but it was actually beyond that. What they found out was, okay, Robert Maxwell has ties to Israeli Mossad. Okay. All right. So, and there's a whole book that you can get on Robert Maxwell. He was the Israeli super spy. Okay. And we didn't know all this information years ago, that Mossad was involved in spying on Americans. Okay. So, but also Promis software had another, there was another thing that they were capable of doing, and that apparently they were capable of tapping into everyone's bank account in the whole United States with Promis software, and they could have wiped out every single person's bank account in the whole country. Okay, this was another thing that they found out. To my understanding, is that that they were able to find out about this Promis software through some of the things that they had found out over the years, and were able to get to the bottom of it, before they were able to do any damage, to the damage that they were planning on doing. So you have to understand, God can use any situation, can use anyone in any situation to do his will. Like he can turn, just because Trump was in that situation doesn't mean he couldn't use that situation for something good later. is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so he used that situation to get information that he could actually use to help learn about these different things, so they weren't able to actually get as far as they wanted to later. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about that, is that you have to understand that just just because you were involved in something doesn't mean you were a part of everything, and that you can't be just because you know some information doesn't mean you know all of the information or whatever. Okay, and then I wanted to also mention that, okay, I still have the police following me around. I still have the police harassing me, and I have for years. The local police here are still following me around, stalking me. Okay, and it's the Plymouth, when I go to work, when I go certain places, there's a Masonic lodge that I drive right by. Okay, and it's this one here. So it's these guys, the Plymouth. Okay, and I still have them just, following me like crazy. Okay, it's illegal spying. And so apparently Google just killed some kind of warrants that give police access to location data, and that was just December 14th. Okay, so so apparently in the past, Google was able to actually give them some kind of geofence warrants to be able to as a tool to actually track us, track people. And it's very controversial, and that's what they have been doing to people like me, whistleblowers, and targeted individuals, and they're abusing their power. So apparently something just happened on December 14th regarding this, and so hopefully that will put them in line, because it's called a geofence warrant. Okay, that's what I keep saying. It's like, I see them everywhere. I see them stalking me everywhere. It's like, I'm sorry, show me your warrant. Why are you always around me? I mean, do you have a warrant to be illegally surveilling me all the time? I mean, this has gone on for years for me. Years. 11 years. I've been illegally surveilled by the police, and it's the Masons. It's the Mason police. And then I talked to my friend in Phoenix about this type of thing, and she said, in Phoenix they are using something called Waymo cars, and they're driverless spy cars there in Phoenix. So they have something like that going on in Phoenix, which is scary. So, Arizona, you have to understand, Arizona was very much deep state. That was the main center of the deep state, that state, because John McCain was the head of the deep state. So it's a very, there's still a stronghold there. And there's something called these Waymo cars there that have access to, there's some driverless spy cars going on there, she said. So this is some scary stuff that's still happening, but there is, apparently something that did pass here where Google killed some warrants that give the police access to this location data for these geofence warrants. Okay, so hopefully we can make some progress there, because this has gone on for me for years, and they've even used they use something. They've also used people that aren't involved in the police. They're called snitches. And I actually have, somebody local here that has been like a snitch for the police. I don't know if they get paid for it illegally or what, but they are illegally spying on me for the police. And that is also illegal. And that also happened to me in Nevada. When I don't know if and I can link the video about this, but you can also look it up. It's the video that I did where I was in Nevada, where I got my dog illegally taken out of my car. Okay, so they had hired a snitch to the police. Had hired a snitch to be like an actor to I was in some kind of place. I had my dog in my car for like 10 15 minutes. It was only like 80 degrees out. It wasn't like 90 or 100, and they tried they had some kind of a snitch actor pretend to be like traumatized, like my car's my dog is upset from heat exhaustion, and they called the animal control, and it turns out that this person was in cahoots with the animal control. They were getting paid. They were getting paid by the police to be a snitch, and I come out from this place I was in for like 10-15 minutes, and my dog had been taken out of my vehicle, and I had to go pay a fine to get her out. It was like this big scandal. And so these people, they also have snitches. They're called, and that's illegal. That's also illegal. And they're getting paid by the police under the table to do these type of things to whistleblowers and to targeted individuals. Okay, and this is another thing that's happened to me here, and it happened to me in Vegas. And so I did end up getting my dog back, and those charges all got dropped because there was no valid reason why they took the dog. Okay, so so this is the type of thing that has been happening to me, and that has happened to many other people over the years. But okay, all right, so I want to touch on that tonight.